Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rechak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 1 Samuel, the 14th chapter. And as we saw in the 13th chapter, with the Philistines coming out against Israel, and causing, Israelites to hide and flee for fear of the Philistines, we now head into the 14th chapter. So this is 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 1. Now it came to pass upon a day that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said unto the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over to the Philistines' garrison, that is on the other side. But he told not his father. And Saul tarried in the uttermost part of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree that is in Migron. So that's Saul and those that were with him, his group. And the people that were with him were about 600 men. And Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, remember this Ichabod being the son of Phinehas, right? As he was born, pretty much his mother died in childbearing, but she named him that, right? The glory is departed from Israel, right? For at that time, she heard news of Eli's death, her husband's death, and the ark of the Lord being taken from Israel. So you had here Ahiah, which was Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. And the people knew not that Jonathan was gone. So when Jonathan left the camp with his armor bearer, nobody really spotted or noticed him. And between the passages by which Jonathan sought to go over onto the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side and a sharp rock on the other side. And the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Sineh. The forefront of the one was situate northward over against Michmash, and the other southward over against Gibeah. And Jonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord Yahweh will work for us. So the Lord will be on our side to work through us. For there is no restraint to the Lord Yahweh to save by many or by few. So the Lord doesn't have limits, right? There's no limitation. The Lord can deliver us with only a few men or by many. So let's go. So Jonathan was basically like, let's just trust in the Lord and let's go ahead and see if the Lord will give us that victory. And his armor bearer said unto him, Do all that is in thine heart. Turn thee. Behold, I am with thee according to thy heart. So I'm with you. Whatever it is you want to do, I'm right there with you. Then said Jonathan, Behold, we will pass over unto these men, and we will discover ourselves unto them. So the plan is, we'll go, and then we'll make ourselves known, so they'll see us, and they know that we're there. If they say thus unto us, Tarry until we come to you. So once we're spotted, if they tell us, yeah, you stay right there, we're going to come over there and see what's going on, check you out. Then we will stand still in our place, and will not go up onto them. But if they say thus, Come up unto us, then we will go up, for the Lord hath delivered them into our hand. So they spot them and they're like, Yo, isn't that them Hebrews? Yeah, yo, come over here. So that was like the plan or the sign that they would use to see. It's like almost like casting a lot by event, and then based on what ends up happening, you say, okay, well then that's the Lord saying we should do this or we should do that. And this shall be a sign unto us. And as we read through the book of Samuel, you'll see that Jonathan was, indeed cunning, right? He definitely had that wisdom, right? He was able to really think, plan certain things and so on, as you'll see. And both of them discovered themselves onto the garrison of the Philistines. So when they went in there, discovering themselves, meaning they made themselves known. So they weren't sneaking around, right? They had it to where they purposely made sure they were spotted. And the Philistines said, "Behold, the Hebrews come forth out of the holes where they had hid themselves." Because remember, in the previous chapter, indeed, they were hiding, right? They went into hiding in caves and bushes and all that. And the men of the garrison answered Jonathan and his armor bearer and said, "Come up to us, and we will show you a thing." Right? So once again, right, them Hebrews, oh yeah, come. Let's show you some stuff over here. Right? More than likely it was because typically in situations like this, they'll probably like, see if they have anything valuable on them, taunt them or whatnot, and then maybe end up killing them, or if they find out something interesting, they would take them to to like the head, one of their lords, right, of the Philistines. That's usually how situations like this play out. But as we know, based on the situation here that the Lord was dealing, so this was a sign on to them. Um, Here we go. Yeah. So after they said, "And we will show you a thing," and Jonathan said unto his armor bearer, "Come up after me, for the Lord Yahweh hath delivered them into the hand of Israel." And Jonathan climbed up upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer slew after him. So when they got close, they started getting to work with their with their weapons. And that first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor bearer made was about 20 men. So clearly they were skilled. Wherein, as it were, an half acre of land, which a yoke of oxen might plow. So in terms of the the setting, right, of where they slew those 20 men, it was about the space of about half an acre. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people. So the Lord, not only did he give those 20 men into the hand of Jonathan and his armor bearer, but he basically struck the camp of the Philistines with panic. So they started bugging out. The garrison and the spoilers, which are all Philistines, they also trembled, and the earth quaked. So they started tweaking, and then on top of that, the Lord threw in an earthquake in addition. So it was a very great trembling. So now they really started to be afraid. And the watchmen of Saul in Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and behold, the multitude melted away, and they went on beating down one another. So all of a sudden, the ones that Saul had set up to watch start seeing, because they were set up to like watch any movements of the Philistines and let them know. And they're seeing them, they as it says, they're striking down one another, and the multitude is fleeing, and they're getting fewer and fewer. Then said Saul unto the people that were with him, "Number now and see who is gone from us. So is anybody left? Get a head count right now." And when they had numbered, behold, Jonathan and his armor bearer were not there. And Saul said unto Ahiah, "Bring hither the ark of God." For the ark of God was at that time with the children of Israel. So this was after it was recovered. And it came to pass while Saul talked unto the priest that the noise that was in the host of the Philistines went on and increased. So the shouting, the turmoil that was going on got louder and louder. And Saul said unto the priest, "Withdraw thine hand." Basically, just because he at first he was like, "All right, go get the ark," and he was probably about to, inquire. And then in the midst of that, the sound is getting louder, and so out of priority, he just sort of just tells him, just forget it, we got to go. So I'll read this in another translation. It says here, but the NLT, "But while Saul was talking to the priest, the confusion in the Philistine camp grew louder and louder. So Saul said to the priest, 'Never mind, let's get going.' And Saul and all the people that were with him assembled themselves, and they came to the battle, and behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was a very great discomfiture. So to their surprise, the Philistines were taking out one another, just slaying one another. Moreover, the heat, and that goes to show you the power of the Lord, right? Like here it is, bringing it to the present time. You could have a situation to where you're surrounded, say in Jacob's trouble, by troops, and all of a sudden the Lord has it to where they just turn their guns on each other and they just start lighting each other up. So when we talk about the deliverance of the Lord, the power of the Lord, it's far beyond what you can imagine. The Lord has so many ways to deliver you. He has to pick out of his book, metaphorically speaking. But he got to select which play do I want to run. Damn, there's so many good ones in here. That's how you got to think about it. It's not that, damn, can the Lord do this? No, it's about which one does he want to do? Which way does he want to deliver me? Verse 21, moreover, the Hebrews that were with the Philistines before that time, which went up with them into the camp from the country round about, even they also turned to be with the Israelites that were with Saul and Jonathan. So there were some of the Hebrews that through fear had surrendered and gone to the side of the Philistines. But when they were in the camp, and when they saw this, they basically turned and joined sides with Saul and Jonathan. Likewise, all the men of Israel which had hid themselves in Mount Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines fled, even they also followed hard after them in the battle. So they pulled up. They said, "Shit, we gonna get them." So the Lord Yahweh saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over onto Bethaven. Verse 24. And the men of Israel were distressed that day. So they pretty much got the victory, but as it says, they were distressed that day. For Saul had adjured the people, saying, "Cursed be the man that eateth any food until evening, that I may be avenged on mine enemies." So he basically caused the people to make an oath where nobody could eat, right, until evening, and in return that the Lord should give them the power to be able to take out the Philistines. That's what he means by be avenged on his enemies. So none of the people tasted any food. And all they of the land came to a wood, meaning like a forest or a bush area, and there was honey upon the ground. And when the people were come into the wood, behold, the honey dropped. So they seen, maybe like a honeycomb, and you hungry as hell, and you seeing that honey from the side of your eye, but you gotta keep your head up. And then to make matters worse, the honey is dripping down. You're like, shit. But no man put his hand to his mouth. So no, and meaning like, nobody dared give into the temptation to take a little scoop and just taste it real quick. For the people feared the oath, right? So they were afraid that, if they broke that oath, the Lord would bring destruction on them. But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. So he didn't hear that. So in essence, this is probably either when he had left with his armor bearer or at some point where you could say he wasn't, he didn't make it with them because he probably wasn't there. Wherefore he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in an honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. So he basically tasted it. And when it says his eyes were enlightened, it just means he was refreshed. Then answered one of the people and said, thy father straitly charged the people with an oath, saying, Cursed be the man that eateth any food this day. And the people were faint. Then said Jonathan, My father hath troubled the land. See, I pray you, how mine eyes have been enlightened, because I tasted a little of this honey. So that basically it wasn't a good call. It just added more stress to the people. Because if this little honey made me feel this refreshed, how much more if haply the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies which they found. So the upon the Philistines that they caught and smote, were they allowed to eat, and recover their strength. For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Philistines, right? Because then they would have had more strength to slay them even more. And they smote the Philistines that day from Michmash to Ajalon, and the people were very faint. And the people flew upon the spoil, and took sheep and oxen and calves, and slew them on the ground. So this is likely in the evening, right after the time of the where they could eat again. But they were so hungry that, as it says, they slew them on the ground, and the people did eat them with the blood. Now it doesn't mean that they ate raw meat, right? But the according to the law, before you basically prepare the animal or you cook it or roast it or whatnot, you have to drain out the blood, right? So you basically open up the earth, you cut like its neck or whatnot, and then you drain out all the blood out of the animal, and then you like roast it or cook it or clean it and all of that, and then prepare it. But they were so hungry they didn't properly drain out all the blood. So yeah, they may have cut it up and roasted it or cooked it, but there was still blood in it. Then they told Saul, saying, "Behold, the people sin against the Lord, in that they eat with the blood." So they're still, they didn't fully drain out all the blood. And he said, "Ye have transgressed. Roll a great stone onto me this day." And that stone, as we'll read further below, he was going to use to build an altar. And Saul said, "Disperse yourself among the people, and say unto them, Bring me hither every man his ox, and every man his sheep, and slay them here, and eat, and sin not against the Lord in eating with the blood." So just have everybody bring their their ox and so on, and then they can kill them here and prepare them the right way. And all the people brought every man his ox with him that night, and slew them there. And Saul built an altar unto the Lord Yahweh. The same was the first altar that he built unto the Lord. So this altar he built that day was the first ever one that he had built unto the Lord. And Saul said, "Let us go down after the Philistines by night, and spoil them until the morning light." So, after being done eating, let's continue to pursue them and slay some more of them. "And let us not leave a man of them." And they said, "Do whatsoever seemeth good unto thee." So whatever it is you think is best, we'll do it, I guess. Then said the priest, let us draw hither unto God. So let's first inquire of the Lord before we go and do that. And Saul asked counsel of God, "Shall I go down after the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into the hand of Israel?" But he answered him not that day. And you notice like how usually when they went to inquire of the Lord, because it was sort of like a lot, right? Almost like a yes or a no, usually that the Lord would give. You notice how the questions when they ask the Lord these things are questions that sort of would have a yes or a no answer, right? Even when it came to selecting Saul as the king, right? They would, okay, is it this family? Is it this family? Is it this family? Is it this tribe? And then it's based on however they were casting the lot to determine the Lord's answer. They would be able to see, okay, yes or no, and that would give you, sort of the answer. So a part of inquiring in this sort of methodology was the way you would ask that question, right? And you notice even when it came to David, he would ask in a similar way, questions that would be phrased in a way where you can either get a yes or a no answer. But the Lord ignored him. He didn't answer. And Saul said, "Draw ye near hither, all the chief of the people, and know and see wherein this sin hath been this day." So he felt something was wrong, right? And that's why the Lord didn't answer. Something had happened. And so he called all the chiefs and everybody together to basically investigate the matter. For as the Lord Yahweh liveth, which saveth Israel, though it be in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die. And what this means is, even regardless of who it is, even if it was Jonathan my son who has committed this sin, he's going to die. But there was not a man among all the people that answered him, so nobody said anything. Then said he unto all Israel, "Be ye on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will be on the other side." So now they were separated. All the people on one side, Saul and Jonathan on another side. And the people said unto Saul, do what seemeth good unto thee. Therefore Saul said unto the Lord God of Israel, give a perfect lot. And Saul and Jonathan were taken. So more than likely you would have the priest or whoever was conducting it, once again, more than likely a priest, and they would cast a lot, and it would be, is whoever committed the sin of Saul and Jonathan or of the people? And as it says, Saul and Jonathan were taken, so it fell on them. So was it the people? No. Was it Saul and Jonathan? Yes. So the people escaped, meaning they would be good. It wasn't any of them. And Saul said, cast lots between me and my son. So was it Saul? No. Was it Jonathan? Yes. So Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, tell me what thou hast done. And Jonathan told him and said, I did but taste a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand. And lo, I must die? So just for that, I gotta die? And Saul answered, God do so and more also, for thou shalt surely die, Jonathan. And the people said unto Saul, shall Jonathan die, who hath wrought this great salvation in Israel? Like hell he will. God forbid. As the Lord Yahweh liveth, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground. For he hath wrought with God this day. So the Lord dealt with him this day to bring us this victory. Hell, you talking about he's going to die. So the people rescued Jonathan that he died not. And that was the doing of the Lord anyway. But the people basically like, yeah, nah. If you notice, they kind of already were, not really feeling the things Saul was doing, right? That's why they would respond with, do what seemeth good unto thee. But with this one, they were like, nah, you're not killing Jonathan. Then Saul went up from following the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. So Saul took the kingdom of Israel, or the kingdom over Israel, i.e., he established, his rule over Israel, and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the kings of Zobah, and against the Philistines, and whithersoever he turned himself, he vexed them. So he basically was any one of them that had either taken cities of Israel or were basically like oppressing Israelites within the bordering regions. He basically cooked them, smote them, and we started to gain that dominion over them. That's why it mentions he vexed them. And he gathered an host and smote the Amalekites and delivered Israel out of the hands of them that spoiled them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan and Ishui and Melchishua, and the names of his two daughters were these: the name of the firstborn Merab, and the name of the younger Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the captain of his host was Abner, son of Ner, Saul's uncle. And Kish was the father of Saul, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. And there was sore war against the Philistines all the days of Saul. And when Saul saw any stronger man or any valiant man, he took him unto him. So whenever Saul saw anybody that was good, that was strong, he added him to his army. And that brings us to the end of the book of 1 Samuel, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.